last night except in my telekinesis.
Bacon.
When it comes to video games, there are games that people love, and then there are games that are considered to be the best of all time. Games like Uncharted 2, Halo Combat Evolved, Minecraft, Super Mario 64, etc. Now, of course, not everyone is going to agree with these, as some may not like the games or they may prefer other games, but these are still considered by many to be some of the greatest games of all time. Though one of these games isn't like the others. Most of these games are made by big developers and are very successful, but this game was neither. It was a game made by a small company named Double Fine that didn't do very well, and that game is Psychonauts. Psychonauts, which is actually short for Psychotic Astronauts, a little known fact, is a game created by Double Fine Productions and Tim Schafer, originally released in 2005. While it did not do well financially, it was critically acclaimed, and like I said, it's considered by many to be one of the best games ever made.
Next up, a trippy psychology lesson disguised as a video game. At number 79, Psychonauts.
Since its original release, the game has been re-released on multiple platforms, such as the PS4, and even has a sequel coming soon. 2 sequels if you count that VR game. VR. Ugh. Because of the sequel scheduled to come out in 2018, I feel like this is a perfect time to talk about the original and see if I like it as much as everyone else. Now, the version I'll be playing is the PS2 Classic version on the PS3. I know there's a fancy schmancy HD remake on PC, and I do own that version, but none of my PCs can run games well, and even if they could, I suck with keyboard and mouse, so... PlayStation 3 it is! Time to play some Psychotic Astronauts! We start off with the cutscene where Coach Oleander and Agents Mila Vodello and Sasha 9 are teaching a group of kids what they will be learning at Whispering Rock Psychic Summer Camp. We are then introduced to the side characters Dogen, Lily, and Bobby before meeting the game's protagonist, Rasputin, or Raz for short. Now, here's the weird thing about this cutscene. And no, I'm not talking about the creepy as fuck character designs, I mean the audio. So here's how the cutscene is supposed to play normally.
A 3-pound pile of dreams. But I'll tell you what it really is. It is the ultimate battlefield.
And here's how it played when I played the game.
A 3-pound pile of dreams. But I'll tell you what it really is. It is the ultimate battlefield.
I think the weirdest part is that the audio will desync and resync at random points during the cutscene. I don't know what causes this or if it's present in any other version of the game, but the audio syncing in the pre-rendered cutscenes is definitely an issue here. It ruins a lot of the comedic timing, though it's only present in the pre-rendered cutscenes. So we choose a punk, get a quick camera check, and we go up to Coach Oleander to begin basic braining. Not even a minute into actual gameplay and already the puns are killing me. So we hop into Oleander's mind and begin our training, but first we get a pretty funny cutscene.
So, this is it. The mental world.
It looks like a dentist office.
A mental dentist office.
We learn how to move, jump, double jump, and even attack. Though, there's something off about how Raz controls, but I can't quite figure out what. We also learn about the collectibles in this game, which are figments of people's imaginations, memory banks, and emotional luggage. Get used to names like that, there's a lot of them. Figments are used to rank up, which get you new psychic powers once you get 100 of them. Memory banks show you a little memory of the person, and emotional baggage needs a tag for it to go away. That's really all it does. The last things we learn about are mental health, which is health, and arrowheads, which are the currency in this game. I seriously can't figure out why the controls are weird and I keep dying because of it. So after we do some platforming and rail grinding, we get to the spinning tunnel of logs. We have to get to the end to get our first merit badge. Okay, now I know what's up with Raz's movement. He has 0 momentum. When you push the stick, you move. When you stop, he stops. This makes it hard to judge when to jump and when to stop, and so many deaths will occur. Another thing is when you jump, Raz has a shadow, so you can kind of judge where you're going to land. But when you use the double jump, the shadow goes away until you land. These two things mixed together make some of the platforming in this game ridiculously hard when it really shouldn't be. Eventually I did it and got my first merit badge. There are 9 total in the game, and you get some of them by ranking up and you get some of them throughout the story. After exiting Oleander's mind, we get invited by Agent 9 to come by his lab for some specialized tests, giving Raz a button before leaving. After 10 minutes, I finally found the lab, and I'd just like to mention how terrible this map is. It's too zoomed in and the movement is very sensitive, so it's hard to figure out where to go without getting lost. If they had zoomed it out a little bit, turned down the sensitivity a little, and maybe added a waypoint marker, it would have been a lot more tolerable. After getting startled and insulted by Lily, we finally get inside Agent 9's lab. We step inside this thing called a brain tumbler that allows us to explore our own mind, where we learn a little about Raz's past. We learn bits and pieces about Raz's past throughout the game, but I'm going to get it out of the way here as it will be easier since the game takes forever to explain it. Raz was born inside of a run-down gypsy caravan into a family of circus performers. Raz did not like being a circus performer and wanted to become a psychonaut. His dad, however, hated psychics, as he says they killed their grandparents and cursed his entire family to die in water, so he makes Raz work harder on his acrobatics. This causes Raz to run away to Whispering Rock, where he ends up at the beginning of the game. Getting back to the present in the game, we follow a rabbit through this forest before being stopped by a dark figure. We are pulled out by Agent 9 just before it can hurt us. He says he can teach us to fight, but first we need to get a marksmanship learner's permit from Agent Crawler. This guy, who is voiced by David K.
Well, you shouldn't believe everything you read in True Psychic Tales magazine.
Oh yeah, and Raz is voiced by Zim. After being pulled into Agent Mind's 9, we learned how to fire Side Blast by using the worst of things as targets.
So tacky. I can't look directly at it.
Besides side blasting, we also learn about the lock-on system and sensors, which are these things that block out thoughts in people's minds that aren't supposed to be there, such as hallucinations. They attack us as they perceive us as a foreign entity in 9's mind, which I think is a cool concept. 9 then leaves us alone to practice, saying it will take 3 weeks to earn the merit badge. Being impatient, Raz obviously does not do this and causes 9's mind to fall into chaos. Here we have to block off all the sensor leaks to return order. This part is really tedious. It's just 30 minutes of blocking off the sensors. We have to do it 3 times for 4 sides. That's 12 sensor leaks, meaning you're blocking off almost a leak a minute. They try to mix it up by adding in these exploding sensors, but it's still the same thing for 13 minutes, and it's not interesting. After blocking off all the leaks, Agent 9 tells us that doing so would cause a buildup of sensor energy, which leads into the first boss fight of the game. It's easy, it's just annoying as the giant sensor will somehow catch up to you before you can stop these little sensors or hit him. So we get the merit badge, I get the merit badge for pyrokinesis for leveling up, and we return to the brain tumbler where we are now able to dispel that shadowy figure. We then see Dogen in this chamber with this weird doctor.
I'm a dentist.
But we are not able to get to them as we do not have the levitation skill yet. So we go to the docks to learn the levitation ability from Mila, but before we can get to her, we see Dogen walk out of the ocean where we learn that he is brainless. And I don't mean that as an insult, I mean his brain is literally gone. Well, that's not important. We go into Mila's mind where we learn to use our thought balloon to levitate and roll around, which is actually pretty fun. You can roll around and float, which is useful for landing on platforms you may have missed otherwise. The only downside is that your shadow goes away once you use levitation, and honestly it's a big problem if you're trying to land on platforms that are far below you. Hey, I wonder what this platform leads to. Oh cool, a chest. Let's jump in.
Where are you?
Okay, pretending that never happened, we continue on until we get to a race. But seriously, this part sucks. You have to beat Bobby Zilch, but you have to be very precise in your movements, because if you get stopped once, there is almost no way to get in front of him, so you might as well restart. If you want my advice, though it may seem obvious, always go for the speed boost and the shortcuts. And also jump constantly, that seemed to help me too. Eventually I won by what I can only assume is sheer luck, and we meet up with Mila, who gives us the levitation merit badge.
So cute.
What is your emergency?
Now that we have the levitation power, we are able to go back into the brain tumbler to get to the top of the tower where we see the doctor make Dogen sneeze his brain out. I mean, I guess that's one way you could do it. Not just take his brain out, no, that'd be too simple. You have to make this convoluted powder that makes him sneeze his brains out. 'Cause why the hell not? We then see the doctor walk into a room where Lily is being held before we somehow phase through the wall and then jump down the hatch that the doctor threw Dogen's brain down. It is then put into a tank and becomes a pretty easy boss battle. So 9 kicks us out of the brain tumbler to tend to important Psychonaut business. This allows us to meet Lily at the beach, where it seems that more kids' brains are being taken out.
Lily, a deranged madman is building an army of psychic death tanks to take over the world, and there's no one who can stop him, except for you and me.
Oh my god! Let's make out!
What?
After Lily goes through a romantic shift quicker than Ruby and Sapphire, although to be fair she's only 10 despite sounding like a sick teenager, she is then kidnapped by a giant fish monster.
Oh, bitch, get out the way.
Well, great. Now we have to save No-Nose. Seriously, how can she smell? So we use the submarine thing to follow the creature, and then we fall into an air bubble beneath the water. After we ring a bell, the fish comes out, and we enter another quote-unquote boss battle, where we have to break these boxes of nails while it's sucking in the air, to which the fish monster starts chasing us. It's like that part in Up Your Arsenal, except a lot slower and not suspenseful at all. After we do that a couple times, we enter the fish's mind to destroy the implant that Coach Oleander put in. Did I mention the coach is evil? The coach is evil. Once we get in, we are dropped into what seems like an ordinary city, except the place is populated by creatures called lungfish instead of people, and Raz is apparently a giant monster.
What's Cochamara?
He's a giant monster like you, Gargalor. He brainwashed and enslaved almost everyone in Lungfishopolis.
This part is actually kind of fun, being the size of a monster and being able to destroy buildings, although it gets old pretty quickly, and the fact that we can't use levitation annoys me. But hey, we get the merit badge for shielding, so it isn't a huge loss. After a long stretch of nothing important, we get to Cochamara Island to fight Cochamara, who is obviously Coach Oleander. This boss fight is easy just like the last ones, although I find it a bit more humorous as Oleander calls out his attacks before he does them.
Deadly Triangle Beam! Mighty Ram! Overly Intricate Combination!
It reminds me of the Panda King from Sly 1. With the implant destroyed, the mutated lungfish then becomes our ally and takes us to where Oleander and the doctor, whose name is Lobato by the way, are holed up. Here we meet Boyd Cooper, a schizophrenic security guard who... well, it's hard to explain. You just need to watch.
You gotta let me in. My friend's in there.
Sorry, the milkman has the key. I am not the milkman. I'm the guard.
Where's the milkman?
I'll bet he's sleeping on the job. His milk is delicious. Everybody wants it. He'll be here soon. Then the lies will end.
Mommy, I'm scared. To find the milkman, we must enter his mind, but to enter, we need to buy a mental cobweb duster. Now you see, mental cobwebs are collectibles in people's minds that you use to help you rank up. Up until this point, they've been optional, but you can't get through Boyd's mind without getting rid of the mental cobweb, so you need to buy the mental cobweb duster. It is 400 arrowheads, and I have 89, so I have to get enough to buy the duster. That means grinding! Yeah! To do this, you have to get the dowsing rod, which helps you find arrowheads buried in the ground, which are worth more than the normal arrowheads you find scattered around the camp. This took me 21 minutes to do. 23 if you count the time it took to get to the camp store. I mean, sure, it's not as long and tedious as other games that have you grind, but it still derailed me from the main plot, and I feel that this was just put in to try and pad out the game a little bit, or punish the players who didn't buy that early on. Now that I can actually progress, I enter Boyd's mind, and Boyd's reaction I find pretty funny.
Yeah! Not another tracking device!
Boyd starts talking to us about the milkman, but Raz doesn't get it.
You just gotta learn to see it like I see it.
This leads into us getting the merit badge for clairvoyance, which allows us to look through other characters' eyes. With our new ability, we are able to see the world through Boyd's eyes. Turns out that the milkman is apparently dead, so Boyd sends us to the graveyard to dig up his body.
Now, how am I gonna find some creepy graveyard in this nice, normal neighborhood?
Along the way, we meet this strange little girl who is selling something called rainbow treats, and a bunch of these shifty guys who we can't get by unless we are holding the appropriate object, like a stop sign to get past the road crew. This is where the cryptic nature of the game's missions really starts to show. I'm glad it doesn't hold your hand, but Jesus Christ, some direction would be appreciated. Here's an example. To get into the graveyard, we have to get a flower to disguise ourselves. The flower is behind the gate in this hedge maze. Seems easy enough, but the game never tells you how to get it, just that you need it. What you have to do is punch the car next to the little girl to get hedge clippers, then you go back to the maze and walk through the gate to scare the crow because it leaves behind a feather that you use clairvoyance on to see that when you walk through the gate to the flower open, but if you walk through it again, it closes, so you have to jump over the gate to get the flower. It's very convoluted, and it took a long time, and I can't breathe. Now we have to go to the book depository, which is where we needed the duster. Once we grab a plunger, we are able to travel through the sewers to get to this building. Another funny scene ensues.
I need a way to get even higher. Like super high. As if I were flying. I know. Maybe I could find some stilts.
We've located the milkman, so we grind some rails and get into this house where— what the fuck? Cue what is so far the easiest boss fight of the game. I swear it feels like this is all leading up to an unfairly hard final boss.
My milk is delicious. Special delivery today.
Finally, we are able to get into the asylum, but we can't get up to the baddie's lair as this guy is blocking the elevator and will not allow us to get through unless we disguise ourselves as Dr. Lobato, which we have to do by entering the minds of these three patients here. I'm going to briefly summarize these as really they aren't too important. In Gloria's theater, you have to get Gloria's muse to get back on stage, but an enemy known as the Phantom keeps sabotaging it. Eventually you fight the guy in a boss fight where you have to use candles to get him to crash before you can attack him, which I think is a cool mechanic. I fucking hate Waterloo World. This level's the most cryptic in what you have to do and the frame rate is absolute garbage. Also Napoleon or some shit. Black Velvetopia has a nice visual style, but the grinding for arrowheads and constantly needing to dodge the bowl makes it tedious. There are 4 mini-bosses here, though the only one I had trouble with was the last one as I didn't have the power necessary to defeat him. I wish the game had told me that. Though Raz's sweet dance moves make it more tolerable. Real quick, I should mention this. Around the asylum, you can find the brains of the other campers. Once you collect them, you can bring them back to Ford Cruller so he can recranialize them, which expands your health. Now that we have our disguise, the guy blocking the elevator lets us through so we are able to climb up the tower to get to Dr. Lobato and Coach Oleander. And oh boy, let me tell you, the platforming is awful. All the broken platforms make it incredibly hard to nail the jumps, to which the levitation shadow things makes it even worse, and these damn rats are so annoying. When they hit you, they deal damage and confuse you, which leaves you open to more rats that come and deal damage and confuse you, rinse and repeat until you want to murder someone. Eventually we make it to the top where we see Dr. Lobato and his lackey who is only helping him because he is holding her turtle hostage. We then get seen by Lobato where we are taken to where Lily is being held along with the now brainless Agent 9 and Mila. After saving the turtle
That's right, baby. Daddy's here.
The fuck? Whatever. After saving the turtle, we plop his brain into a tank where he knocks Lobato out the window. So really there wasn't any point for him to be in the game. The now ex-lackey of Lobato puts 9 and Mila's brains back into place, we free Lily, Oleander comes in, 9 and Mila drop Raz and Lily in front of the asylum, the patients leave, and Boyd Molotovs the place. This causes the place to fall apart, and Oleander's brainless meat suit walks from the rubble.
Where's his brain?
Now, you would probably think that this is the final boss, but oh, you'd be sadly mistaken. You see, Raz gets his brain sneezed out, we toss it into the tank, and the minds of Raz and Oleander connect so their memories start mixing together. So Raz's memory of his family being circus performers and Oleander's memories of his father being a butcher collide together into the absolute worst part of the game, the meat circus. Why is this the worst part? Oh, let me break it down for you. Part 1. Little roly-poly Oleander here wants to save this bunny from his dad, but these mutated rabbit monsters constantly try to attack him, so we have to not only protect him from them, but also use telekinesis on the bunny so he can grab him. And it doesn't help that he moves so fucking slow! This makes Oli fly away, where we then have to climb up to do the same thing again, except these jumps need precise timing and you don't know where he is, and everything looks the same, so you get turned around, and then he dies, so you have to start from the beginning. It makes me want to shove a chainsaw up his ass! Part 2. You have to fight his dad, who is constantly trying to slice you up. You have to climb up his arm, though I thought that wasn't the plan because I clipped through his arm the first time. It's easy, but tedious as hell. Part 3. We meet Raz's mental interpretation of his father, who chastises him for hanging around psychics instead of keeping up on his acrobatics, and then he makes us go through this ridiculous obstacle course while the water keeps rising and you have to make very exact jumps, all while his father won't shut up!
Quick! Up here! Incoming! Hey son! Cats! Up here! You used to... Hey son! Cats! Incoming! You used to like to play catch with me. You used to like to play catch with me.
Part 4. We get a second boss fight against Oli's dad, who is now on fire, while Raz's dad throws spike juggling utensils at us to hurt Oli's dad, but your aim has to be very precise or it won't work. After all that, we get a cutscene where Raz's actual dad comes in and we learn he didn't hate psychics before giving Raz all the mental energy he has so we can, Part 5, fight one of the easiest final bosses in any game I've ever played in my life. Apart from the cutscene, I hate this entire section with all the precise movements you have to make, the tedious as all hell boss fights, the characters who never shut up, the lackluster and not at all satisfying fight at the end of all of it. Holy shit, I hate it. What a terrible way to end the game. Thankfully it ends and we get the final cutscene where Raz's brain is back in his body, Oleander is no longer evil, Ford Cruller makes Raz an official Psychonaut, Mila and 9 say that there's been another kidnapping.
I was here the whole time, you saw me!
And we end with a sequel tease.
Yes, after all, we'll have Rasputin helping us.
I'm going?
Now how could we do this without our anti-kidnapping specialist?
So that was Psychonauts, and there's no beating around the bush here. I don't think this is one of the best games ever made. Do I think it's bad? No, but I don't think it's great. It has some creative ideas, it's pretty funny, and I like some of the characters, but the controls are awkward, the final world was awful, the missions were really cryptic at times, and there are other issues like the audio desyncing and cutscenes, though that may be a problem specific to this port. The game took me around 13 hours to beat, but I feel that a good portion of that was just me aimlessly running around or looking for how I need to progress the story. If you love this game, go ahead and keep loving it. I'm not going to insult you just because I don't enjoy it as much as you do. This is just my opinion after all. though I am still interested in how the sequel will turn out. Double Fine has had a lot of experience in game design since then, so I'm hopeful. Will people like it more than the first? We'll have to wait until the release of Psychotic Astronauts 2, Psychokinetic Boogaloo to see. Anyways, I'm Ghost Ion, I'll see you in the next video, and please don't hate me for this, guys.
Come on, David K., where the hell are you?